I looked into this not thinking I was going to find anything. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I looked into this not thinking I was going to find anything at all. I was like, I just wanted to know, okay? When we were reading the memorandum for the Delphi case, okay, the 136-page memorandum, and if you don't know the Delphi case, we've covered it before, you know. You can go back and watch those videos if you want to, know what happened to Libby and Abby and all that. We told the story in our very first video. We were kind of newer back then, but I still think we got most of it down.
Yeah.
And
we thought it was Richard Allen. We were on board with the Richard Allen train. But yeah.
Yeah. So, in the memorandum, we went over it on live stream, and we kind of talked about what odinism was, too. And in the document, it alleges that these 3 suspects are a part of the Vinlanders, okay? Or 4 suspects, I'm sorry, 4. That they're part of the Vinlanders and 22. And we were like, what does 22 mean? And you were theorizing, well, V is the 22nd letter. Maybe it stands for V, because clearly you had some background knowledge in this. That's how you picked that. So, according to the ADL, okay, what is the ADL? ADL is the leading anti-hate organization in the world, founded in 1913. Its timeless mission is to stop the defamation of the Jewish people and secure justice and fair treatment for all. So they fight all bigotry. They claim they're a global leader. I'm just reading their About Me on their webpage. Now, when I searched 22 on here, guess what popped up?
What?
A group that is currently, it says their group status is active. It shows this emblem right here, okay? Now, this specific one says Georgia on it, but you need to understand this is nationwide. Since I've been looking into it, nationwide. There are multiple states involved in this organization. So, what this means is Firm 22 is the name used by the Vinlanders Social Club, which is a racist, skinhead, Odinist gang, okay? And this Firm 22 refers to wives of the group and, associates of the group who aren't legit members, but are, connected.
Mm-hmm.
So the number 22 stands for the letter V. V is the 22nd letter of the alphabet, and it is similar in nature to the Crew 38 established by the Hammerskins. Hammerskins are a skinhead group too, which apparently the Vinlanders have had beef with before. Now, in the memorandum, it said these people were a part of the Vinlanders. Remember, we were talking about an Odinist cult?
Yep.
I don't know if I would call it a cult. I would call it a gang. This is a gang. Now, they may have some ideologies behind what they're doing, but I feel like the kind of activities they're into, I don't know that they're, legit worshiping. I'm not sure about that. Maybe they are. Maybe I'm wrong. But to me, it sounds like a gang. It sounds like kind of like the KKK or the neo-Nazi type people.
Yeah.
That's what it just reminds me of, which is where the Vinlanders stem from, is a group like that.
It makes me wonder if they have manipulated the belief system to think that worship has evolved with society, and now what they're doing in these ways in this chaos and terrorism on the general public is what they think is worship for their gods. You know what I mean? I was wondering that the other day too. Do they think they have an okay from their god because this is what terror looked like, because everyone was so afraid of Vikings back in the day, but the different era, different way of
Yeah.
life, different everything. It's not the same. You were
No.
fighting for your life back then. It's completely different
It is.
than what it would be now. So
Yeah.
do they have some kind of message that's been manipulated to make it seem like that?
I think so. I think you're onto it there. So I wanted to also know what is Vinland? Vinland was back when Erickson, okay?
Leif Erikson?
Yes,
Yep.
or I think that's who it is. I'm pretty sure. At least I'm saying this off memory right now. That's when the Vikings came here and founded America.
Yep.
They called it Vinland.
Got it. Yeah.
There you go. Odinists in America. They're calling back to a name of when Vikings originally found America way before Christopher Columbus.
Yep.
And called it Vinland. That's why they're calling themselves Vinlanders. So the connection to Odinist is in fact in the name. It is. So I find this article, okay, further talking about who the Vinlanders are. So this is on the Southern Poverty Law Center website, and it says they are a social club. That's what it defines it as. It's a gang.
Yeah,
but
that's what motorcycle gangs used to call themselves too.
Social clubs.
Social club.
Well, see, a lot of Vinlanders, when the original founder stepped down or went to prison for killing somebody, when they left, they ended up joining a lot of motorcycle social clubs. So,
I'm sure they did.
but it was originally found in 2003 by people who were a part of the outlaw Hammerskins, which was a skinhead group. They went rogue and formed the Vinlanders. And they have quite a rap sheet.
Yeah.
I did not realize how extensive that rap sheet was, like, because I was really curious, like, is this Vinlanders? I didn't think I was going to find, like, a deep history, but it was founded in 2003. 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, the founder of it is, I think, no, it's not Brian James. It's Eric Fairburn, okay? And he's currently in South Central Correctional Center in Missouri. But these guys, Brian James, Eric Fairburn, Brian Widener, Nate Slider, and Donald Warwick were all a part of the outlaw Hammerskins, and they formed this in 2003, like I said, and they went around and started recruiting people. Remember in the memorandum, it talked about the guy who was a recruiter.
Yeah.
They literally went around the United States recruiting people and turning little groups around the country into Vinlanders.
No way.
Yes. They did. Now, this is very prevalent in Indiana, very prevalent in Illinois and Ohio. That's like where it originated in.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, that's
Delphi.
interesting. Yeah.
And they turned little groups of skinheads into Vinlanders.
Huh. By just making one big group.
Yes, essentially. And it cites several different people and groups that like turned into them, and apparently they had beef with like the Hammerskins, like kind of like they tried to call them out and start beef with them, and then the Hammerskins like didn't really seem to respond to it that much. But what they claim they are, okay, and they had a website in 2007 when Brian James took over this group and called himself the leader. He made this website, and these are quotes from the website about who they are.
Okay.
Our beliefs stem from being deprived of our individual freedoms and from our witnessing of the decline of Western civilization. One of the most obvious and sometimes relevant symptoms of this decline is forced integration and decline of our towns and neighborhoods based on racial makeup.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just racism, basically. We will die fighting together for self-determination and self-respect in a world that has turned its back on natural law and common sense. As an organization and tribe, we will do what we have always done. We will thwart, displace those who want to harm us, protect and better those who support us. I'm ready for Valhalla or prison to do what's right. We are sick of the lies, tired of the BS. We are calling you out. Either listen to the truth or fight for your lives. Fight for your lives for the lie. And that one was written by Eric Fairburn.
Yeah, it honestly just sounds like gang politics, honestly.
Yeah,
it just sounds like the kind of stuff you hear in California prisons between, the northerners, southerners, the skins, the woods, the black,
Well, remember, Odinism, they were recruiting and turning prisoners into Odinists.
Yeah.
Remember, we read that.
Yeah.
I can find that direct source again. I don't have it pulled up here, but I saved it, so I know I have it somewhere on my computer. But there was a lady, actually, that went around to prisons in the 90s converting prisoners to Odinists. And, skinheads into Odinists.
That's interesting. Huh.
Why?
I mean, I
It's
feel
just
like
so strange.
I feel like the answer is obvious as to why. More people is more power, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to become a major faction on the U.S. map of gangs and
Crime organizations.
Yep, crime organizations, territory owned, controlling territory, whatnot. That's the way to do it. More bodies is more power. I don't think anyone would argue that. It just is. I'm still so blown away that there are people in positions of power, like law enforcement, that have been adopted into this. Was it by force? Were they blackmailed? Was it some kind of other situation that ultimately made them be open to the idea, whether it was forced or whether it was enticed,
I mean, I think you're going to have, just like any regular citizen in the U.S., okay, or anywhere in the world, you're going to have regular people who are racist. You're going to have guards that are racist. Like, guards are people. Police are people. Like,
yeah, I agree.
They're flawed. They have their own ideas, their own opinions, things like that.
Yeah, I agree.
This talks about very specific crimes done by Vinlanders or Vinlander associates. It cites many, actually. And one of them is done by a prison guard, which I thought was kind of crazy. Let me see if I can find it.
A source of crimes recanted by a prison guard?
No, he literally did the crime.
Oh, how'd we get the story? What's it from?
It's all from this website, like I was saying.
Wow.
But here we go. So, in 2009, Michael Parrish, a corrections officer in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, and secretly a probationary member of the Vinlanders, killed his live-in girlfriend and 2-year-old son. His apartment was filled with Nazi memorabilia, including photos and DVDs depicting Adolf Hitler. In 2010, he pled guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder. But that's just one prison guard that's in this. There's also a case I thought was interesting in 2010 in Phoenix, Arizona, which is another place that got a lot of recruitment done in it. So there was... Apparently, they thought they had wiped out most of the Vinlanders in 2010 in that area. But then 2 reputable members, Travis Ritchie and Aaron Schmidt, were indicted for shooting a woman because she was walking with her boyfriend, and she was white and he was black. And they literally just drove by and shot her.
Whoa.
So, now remember in Delphi, you guys, that supposedly they killed Abby and Libby because one of the mothers was dating someone outside of the race. So,
yeah.
And Brian...
Are we able to connect dots?
BH had ties where supposedly his son was dating Abby, and he is supposedly an ODINIST and has connections to the Vinlanders, according to the memorandum, which he posted on Facebook, okay, that he is planning to sue.
Sue who?
So this is what he said, if I had the money, if I had their money, if I had they money, I'd sue Brad Rosie for the pain and anguish he has caused me and my family. And all you armchair detectives out there, I'm taking screenshots of the comments you post, so keep it up. Maybe I can get some money out of this misery. And he posts pictures of Richard Allen. Well, no, actually, it's an article that has pictures of Richard Allen. So just being fair.
And that's the same guy that posted the videos and pictures antagonizing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, same guy who posted pictures that mimicked the crime scene.
Because it just got real. It just got real, so he switched to victim mode.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he did. Yep. He turned around and blamed everybody else.
Yep.
You got no case. You're not going to be able to sue anybody, in my opinion.
Yeah. Absolutely, I agree.
But there's many documented cases here of horrible racial crimes and crimes against humanity. Okay? So, originally, I guess the founder, they were at, it was like a march or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was, like a gathering, and supposedly a guy, it was like, I think a black guy, I'm pretty sure, walked by and said, yeah, here we go. Dexter Lewis was the guy's name that walked by Fairburn, the founder of this organization, and it was at their march downtown Indianapolis. Okay, so Indiana. And he walks by and says, hey, nice tattoo. Fairburn took that as, like, not a good thing, okay? Like an insult. And they talk about how he had Vinlanders insignia on the top of his bald head, and he had murder around, like, in the front of his neck. Okay. And he said, N-word, don't you dare stop. And then, a few minutes later, him, Fairburn, Dumbass... That's a really bad last name.
Yeah.
Dumbass and Kern tracked him down. I shouldn't be laughing right now. Tracked him down at an intersection, knocked him out, and then continued to, like, beat him after he was knocked out. So a large crowd gathered around and started watching, and the Vinlanders apparently yelled at them and said, back off or you'll get a piece of it too. And another one said to a lady that if she called 911, they were going to kill her. And then they were all arrested, all pled guilty. One got 60 days in jail, one got a year, and Fairburn, the ringleader, was sentenced to 5 years. And then in court, okay, he claimed he had nothing to do with Vinlanders anymore. He denounced all of it. And that he said that when he left, he grabbed as many people as he could and got out of there. After
creating it?
Yes.
What?
So here's his full statement to the judge. I'm no longer a member of the Vinlanders, and I no longer have any association or ties whatsoever to the Vinlanders or any other racist clubs or anything. I haven't been around those people in over a year. I'm 34 years old, and I've got too much going on in my life to waste any more of it. When I decided to get out, I grabbed as many people as I could and ran for the door. Anybody who I thought I could talk some sense into, I did, and quite a few went along with me. And several did and joined motorcycle gangs or were imprisoned. So there was then the James guy, Brian James, he kind of took over and it went through a period of decline, but they are still very much active.
Yeah.
Very much active. They, had truces with gangs that they had issues with. And they've even got apparently more people in a faction in Florida to join. This is still going on.
An ongoing active group.
Yep. So in 2011, they had a White Power concert entitled Plunder and Pillage.
Okay.
And this was in Ohio. And this is when they declared their truce with the Hammerskins in Florida.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. So
interesting.
They're basically just showing how they still are doing things throughout this, but this is still ongoing. But Fairburn was after that. So remember, he got 5 years and said he left the Vinlanders, right?
Yeah.
So, after he was released from that, he turned himself in for a murder in Springfield, Missouri. A 2004 murder of a man in Springfield, Missouri.
What?
And he got life.
He turned himself in?
It was a revenge killing where he killed a guy because the guy was drunk driving, hit one of his friends, and his friend died, and he went and killed the guy for it.
What?
And then he turned himself in. And
I'm just blown away he turned himself in.
I know. I don't know why.
Whoa.
I don't know why. But he got life.
Okay.
Yep, Fairburn. So the original founder, like I said, he's in prison. But Brian James sounds like he's very much still on the streets, possibly still leading this thing. I don't know, because the last we have of it is from 2011 on this website. I'm still going to dig more into it. I want to know more. I want to know what's current, what's not. I know I have found many articles citing crimes done by ODINISTs. Even January 6th, there were some there with the tattoos, the Volk knot, which is the 3 triangles you're seeing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still very present.
Dude with the horns, the most well-known picture during that.
Well, there was a whole group of them there. There was a whole group.
Yeah, but there's one that is the most known with half blue, half red, and then the buffalo horns that literally got the most charges, the most well-known, the most anything. He is an Odinist. Yeah,
I don't know if he's a part of the Vinlanders or anything, but there's several factions of these Odinist racial supremacist type skinhead gangs or cults or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. I know I saw a cult specialist talk on a podcast. I think it's gosh, I'm sorry, I can't remember the name, but we'll post it. And he was saying, I see no evidence for a cult at all. And that's because you're not looking at a cult, you're looking at a skinhead gang.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I grew up like punk rocker, okay? And for whatever reason, skinhead groups infiltrate these weird driving forces in society. So in the 80s and 90s, punk rock was huge for whatever, because of Reagan and the whole Watergate and a lot of the drama going on in the federal government. A lot of people turned to punk. They were really angry with what was going on in the federal government, and punk was huge. That was like a huge driving force between East Coast and West Coast, and circle pit versus slam dancing, and skinheads started just inserting themselves into that society and that punk rock culture, where they weren't wanted. They nobody wanted them around. They almost fought every single show they went to. And then you have like a belief system like this, like Odinism or is it Satruism?
It's a Satra.
A Satruism, and they're inserting themselves in this situation also. And dude, so Jay is for Justice had an Odinist on, or a Satruist on, and I could only watch for a few minutes because we had to hop on here, but that few minutes that I did hear, it night and day difference. The dude's not angry. He's so laid back. He's like, these are my beliefs. I don't care if you believe them, as long as you give me the respect to believe mine. And like, dude, no forcing, none of that stuff, which is the opposite of what you see in race-based gangs.
Right.
And groups.
Right.
I mean, it
they
could be
their
a
way's
cult
the only
still.
Right way.
If there truly is a religious factor to it, it can be a cult.
You're right, but the cult expert, like, I don't want to hate on the man. I think he's very, very intelligent, but I think based off, like, I felt like his mind was a little closed, to be honest, that to not look at the possibilities, because he clearly has these very set rules of what defines a cult, and that there needs to be this history of crimes, and there needs to be this leader, and there needs to be like all these things. And I'm like, okay, but if it's a cult unknown to people, clearly there's no history yet.
Yeah.
Like, we have to figure all of that out. So to just say no, like, and I am finding the history. All you have to do is dig and you will find it.
Yeah.
Like, it is there. You read the memorandum and see all the bombs are dropping in it, and you go look it up and dig, and I found a lot.
Yeah, and just to be clear too, so
like
this
real proof.
This Odinist belief system, were you going to go into it about what they believe, why it needs to be skinhead?
You can.
So this Odinist belief system, why they believe that it backs the white race is in, like, I'm going to get this date wrong, but it's somewhere between like 1400 and 1490, somewhere right in there. There was this family where it was a mother figure and then two sons and a daughter, and they were a Satruist or Odinist. It's essentially the same thing. Both of them believe in both group of gods, but Odinists prioritize Odin as the singular god above all else, where a Satruist don't. They pray to all gods. But Christians came to this family, and the mom wouldn't denounce their belief system, so they burned her alive at the stake and made the children watch and then proclaim Christianity in front of the town square and everyone there. And they started creating backroom Odinites or Odinism or Odinists or whatever.
It in secret and stuff.
Well, growing it because they believed, they were told that they were one of the last few bloodlines that are confirmed pre-Christ, that's important, that true bloodline, whatever that is. And they have to protect that bloodline at all costs. So,
I was there are Odinist podcasts, okay? I found a few, and I listened to some of the prayers, I listened to some of the stories. I've been looking into it a lot. But the comments under these videos are interesting. Some of them are blatantly very racist. Some of them are less so. And they talk about how, as a white person, they feel like they're cultureless. Like, they don't have a real culture. It's just like America, and that's it. Whereas other ethnic groups have, like, this rich, deep culture.
Yeah.
And white people, like, don't have that. I guess because we're, like, all mixed and, like, you know what I mean? I mean, not really me, but I know my culture. But
Yeah.
I just mean white people in general. And I've heard the argument that white really is a political term, period. Like, there is no such thing as white necessarily. That is political in nature.
Sure.
That's like an elitist type thing. So they feel like they have no culture, and they feel like the Viking religion gives them that culture. Like, that gives them what they felt like they were missing.
Yeah, you're not going to... So maybe that's an outsider's view looking in, but nobody that's a part of it, you're going to hear them say that.
No, I don't think so.
For sure not.
Yeah.
That's not...
So...
No.
Because I've also seen, like, the people who are, like, really into it that, like, are, like in Iceland, for example. I found several websites for people who are part of, like, the organizations of the Old Way is what they call it, which is... That was the term the Vikings used when they met the Christians, like, way, way back when. And Asatruists and stuff like that. They just talk about it like we're, like, you know, we're, like, their ancestors and all this stuff. Like, you don't even hear about any of that, like, culture and white and nothing like that.
Yeah.
Like, they don't even mention being white.
Yeah.
So, like, even though that comment isn't, like, about racism per se, it's, like, it is kind of a little bit feels that way. That's
Maybe,
what it's about.
I guess.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I just don't see... I'm a different person, and honestly, I don't even want to get into it. I just don't see any value in, like, oh, let's search for white culture.
I don't feel the need for that either, at all. I was reading the comments because I wanted to know what the people watching that stuff are, like, what they're saying. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. To get a vibe for, like, who's practicing it.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. I feel like I found way more than I bargained for when I found this stuff.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, and I hope that... Because I'm starting to believe that the defense is really onto something. I know a lot of people feel like this is like a red herring or manipulation of the facts or lots of other things, but I think they're actually onto something here.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe not. I still think it's very possible Richard Allen is guilty. Like, very, very possible.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see. Mm-hmm. Let those thoughts riot in the comments below.
Yeah, I want to know everything you have to say about it.
Yeah.